Well, we're back with our 10K bike build. So this is part 2, and in this video, I hope that you and I can get it back on the road and drivable. Then, in the next time together, we can start customizing this bike for a 10K giveaway. So welcome back to Butler Customs Motorcycle Shop. Okay, so last time on this bike, we got it running. Now, I was shocked. I was surprised. I kind of figured out when I went back and edited the video what had happened and maybe why this bike was taken apart the way that it was. Some of you guys caught it, and for the person that did catch it, they won a t-shirt, and so I'll send it out to them very, very soon. But I'm going to show you a little clip and see if you can guess what is wrong mechanically with this motor. Even though, yes, it did start up, but there's going to be a problem if we just go ahead and put this together and try to go down the road on it. It's not going to work. So watch this clip from part 1. Okay, why doesn't that sound right? So did you catch that? Yep. It's the starter gear on this clutch has separated from the hub clutch basket. And in doing so, this gear here is supposed to turn with the hub. It's supposed to be made with the hub so that when the starter comes out and engages and the starter gear engages on this ring here, the hub spins. When the whole hub spins, this chain spins. When this chain spins, the compensator spins on the front, which spins the motor over to start it. You'll notice in the first video, if you watched it, that I wanted to keep some tension on the chain, so I stuck a bristle handle in the bottom to get some good tension. When I did that, it wouldn't crank, and the reason for that is that gear was just spinning on the hub. When I took the slack out of the chain, fired it up, and that's what surprised me. If we were to put it back together like that and get proper tension on the primary chain, the bike would not start. We've got to pull this clutch hub off. Now you say, well, it's just kind of pressed and fitted on there. Why don't you just replace it? Well, I looked them up. Gee-wee, good night. They're $500 used for a clutch hub. So I'm going to do the right thing and just weld the ring on the clutch hub. I mean, even worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, then we're still buying a clutch hub. I had the subscriber and members that sent me this bike to donate it for our 10K giveaway. They sent up the transmission bolts. They sent up the actual Ultima digital ignition that came on the bike, and the bell, what I call the bell, or the timing rotor. It does have some wear and use on it. To me, I would probably just keep what we've got on there. It seems to be working really well. We do have to set the timing on it. And it does have, like this, the buttons you can change to delete the VOES and all that jazz. So I think we're going to, wherever we borrowed this from, we are going to put this in instead. And they did send the cover plate. They did send the little timing studs. So that's good. They actually sent me 3 of them, so I got an extra one now. So we will be using all that, and even the little covers, the little screws for the cam cover. So we'll be using all of these. We will not be using this. We're just going to kind of dial in by ear of the time and check. Also, remember we were missing an exhaust stud and all the nuts. So I did buy a V-twin exhaust stud kit and nuts as well. We'll be putting that in. Hopefully the bolt's not broken off in the head. Hopefully the nut bolt just came out, the stud came out with the nut, and they just misplaced it, and we've got a new one. So we'll be putting those in. If you've ever needed to put exhaust studs in, I'll show you that. Also, we have the cam cover. though it looks a little small. And we also have the primary cover. So we can go ahead and pull this cam side off again, put the cover on, and now we've got our bolts. Take those bolts out that we had and use them for the primary side. Then we've got some wiring to do. Now here's the deal. I know a lot of folks have suggested, and I asked, what do we do with this bike? Do we hardtail it? Do we divorce the transmission and motor? Do we rake out the front end? Do we springer the front end? Do we chopper wire it? And while I was getting in all the wonderful suggestions, it came to my thought that, hey, wait a minute. If we're giving this bike away, somebody might win it that is in a state that requires inspection. Tennessee does not. So once you have the title to the bike, you can build the bike how you like. It does have to have some basic things: a headlight, a tail light, a brake light. You can still do the hand signals here in Tennessee. That's about it. But in looking at some of the laws in other states, if we were to chop this bike up, I don't know if you could register it to ride it in your state if you win it from one of those, states that are really strict. I don't want to do a giveaway and somebody have a bike they can't even ride and enjoy. Why do that? If we're going to give a bike away, I think it's best to just put it back as stock as we can. We're going to have to put the turn signals on it. It's going to have a speedometer. It's going to have headlight, tail lights. It's going to have a kill switch. I just want it so that whoever gets it can register it in their state, go through the inspection, and it pass and it be good. Now, if you reach out to me and say, hey, that don't matter a bit, then we'll go a different way. So let's just go ahead and get this bike on the road for right now. I want to make sure it shifts. I don't even know if it's going to shift. Where do we start? Well, let's go ahead and pull the pipes off because they're just kind of hanging up there. Remember, I had no nuts. We'll get that one stud in. We'll inspect the other studs. We'll get all the nuts on. While the pipes are off, we'll pull the cam cover off, and then we'll go ahead and put the gasket on, because I've got oil while I was gone on vacation. I've got oil everywhere. It all leaked out, so I'm glad I didn't fill this up to the top. Then let's move over to the primary side. We've got to pull that clutch basket, and we've got to get that ring attached to the clutch hub. And that'll give us a good time to inspect the clutches. It has no clutch cable on it, so I don't know how the clutch is going to operate. We might just inspect the pads and see how they look and the plates and go from there. Also a good time to check out the stator, although it was charging, if you remember in the first video. So it's working. The rectifier and the stator are working. Shouldn't have to mess with nothing there unless we see an exposed wire that was about to give us trouble. I do want to get a different switch. I don't like this switch. I don't even know if we can find a mounting for it. I'm okay with running chopper wire on a switch, so we can have just a switch somewhere on a side panel or something for ignition. We'll run the lights on even with the ignition on, and then we can still use the start button up here. We've got to get a battery. We've got to do a lot of things. So I want you and I to be riding on this bike by the end of this video for this week. So let's get to it. All right, I just got these pipes hanging. Oh, good grief. Okay, that's gonna stay on there for now, just as I planned. Get our cam cover off, and then we can go ahead and route everything kind of where it's going to go to keep it out of the way of exhaust and things like that. 3/16, and these were the primary bolts, I believe. I'm probably going to lose quite a bit of oil that's left in there. And then we've got to take our 1/2-inch long bolts out that hold the filter housing on. Okay, now before you can take the cam cover off, even after taking the oil filter housing off, remember you've got that rotor in here that's attached to the cam. So if you go trying to yank this off, you're going to pull the cam out with it. So you don't want to do that. Then you'll be retiming everything. So let's get these little timing screws out. We got to set the timing on this anyway. So we'll be moving all this regardless. Now we can pull our plug down, and we got this little bolt that goes on the end of our cam. I think it's a 5/16. Yep. And then I can just easily zip that out. It was not torqued on there. Remember, we were just trying to get it run. Then we can take our bell out here. And this looks like a little bit better shape than what they sent me. Let me show you. So this is the one that I had on there. This is the one they sent me. Now you'll find in the Sportster world that there's two different types of bells or housing or rotors. One that's like a silver and then one that's like a gold. So you need to use the gold one when you're using these electronic ignitions. So I might just go ahead and put that on there since this came off of it. But to me, this one just looks a little better. But this does go to that other 2002. So we might go back with that. And all these bolts should be for my primary side over there. Okay, now with all this off, the cover's free to come off. You're gonna have to wiggle, and I would keep my thumb on that cam when you do this so that the cam does not come out with it. And we are losing oil, which is a good sign. Put this tail that I found with all the parts in it, catch all the oil. I want my cam to stay in, and I just want to keep wiggling on that, and that'll come off just like that. And now we're going to clean up all around here. We're going to clean up the surface of the cover, and it looks like it's a stock gasket, and it's going to be a pain to get off. They get hard, they get brittle, they get stuck to it. So I'm going to clean all this up. Everything in here looks good. It looks like it was running good. It sounded good and strong. Of course, we will need to, just kind of adjust the timing a little. But it sounded like it was getting great compression. I feel that this is timed correctly. We could go ahead and pull the plugs, put it in high gear, turn the wheel just to verify, but it didn't bark back on me. It didn't have trouble starting. It actually started right up. So I think the timing is set properly on it, and we checked it in the last video. So I'm not necessarily going to worry about that right now. I think it's good. So all I'm going to do is clean up here, clean this cover up on this side, get our new gasket out. I am going to put some good high quality RTV on both sides, because the gaskets on these, as you'll see when I get the new one out, are so thin. I don't want it to have a good coating. It is, I believe, is it a James gasket? I don't know. Do not cut box with knife. Care must be taken to avoid damage to the product. Well, then how do you want me to open it? You don't leave me a way to open it except with my knife. So we will be using a knife carefully. We'll just kind of go around there. How's that? Just two sides should do it. Okay, no, never mind. I will not be using RTV. I couldn't remember if I got the good James one or not. I did. So I got the good James gasket that's got the rubber coating all the way around it already. So that's good. All right, I got everything cleaned up best I could. I'm gonna put some oil over all these right here as I go into the bushings and the bushings themselves. Make sure it gets around there real good. Now, when you pull this cover off, according to the manual, you're supposed to take pressure off the push rods. That's how you're supposed to do it. Almost nobody does. If you keep your finger or thumb on this front intake cam or this rear intake cam, everything will stay in place where it's supposed to. You rarely will pull anything out on accident. So now to go back in, I've got everything cleaned up surface wise. And I got our new gasket here. A nice James gasket. We'll put that up there if I can do it with one hand. I got all my thread holes cleaned out. I guess that's why they have you take the tension off the push rods first, huh? Okay, maybe I can put this back in gear and try to bump it a little bit. All right, that was it. Just had to put it up almost on a compression to get it in there. Now I don't want to go full on because I want to make sure that I get my bolts in. According to the manual with the bolts, when you take them out, you're supposed to make a template. Put them back where they go. Because Harley does not tell you the different lengths, and I think I've got 4 different lengths of bolts. So I've got 4 really long ones, 1 really short one, 3 kind of long ones, and 1 a little longer than those 3 but shorter than the 4. So I didn't take this off. I don't know where they go. I didn't make a template. So we're just going to have to take the shortest one and start sticking in holes. All right, it is not that one. Now, let me get this kind of up on here. We might have to wiggle it back a little bit to make sure my gasket gets up in there good where it needs to be. But here's one. All right, doesn't go there. Looks like it would go there. Not there, not there, not there. So this small one has to go there. Make sure it goes through my gasket. I'll be pulling these back out to Loctite them and torque them, but right now I just want to see where they go. All right, I've got 3 shorter ones. Okay, that looks about right. That looks about right. That looks about right. I got 1 kind of longer one. Yeah, that's better. I got 4 really long ones, so I know one's probably going to go up there. One's probably going to go there. One's probably going to go there. One's probably going to go there, but that sticks out way too far. Let me swap these around. That's better. That's better. Okay, I'm happy with those. I don't know if they're right, but I'm happy where they're at. Seems like they all threaded in, went through my holes on my gasket. It's up in here. I can feel under here where the case meets, and it is indeed on there. Everything looks good and lined up. Of course, my 2 bolts for my oil filter will go in there. I'm not worried about those right now. So now all I got to do is tighten them down. The manual says tighten them down finger tight first, then crisscross them 80 to 110 inch-pounds. So I'm going to go 90 inch-pounds. I am going to blue Loctite them. I think the manual said to do that, but I can't remember if it did or didn't. Okay, I'm going to just run these down till they set down on me. Nice and slow. I just want to make sure I got my lengths right. Now I'm going to do 90 foot-pounds, or sorry, 90 inch-pounds. And I'm just going to start crisscrossing them. I'm going to start at the bottom here first. And 90 is not much, so. All right, I think that's all. I'm going to go back and check. Yes. Our new gasket is on there. We'll clean all this up, pretty it up. Now we are ready for our bell. A rotor button to go back on there. It only goes on one way. Little tab there that it sets in. Now for our bolt, it does say to blue Loctite this little bitty bolt, and there is a torque to this. Be careful, I have seen these snap off in that cam so many times, so please be careful. Follow the torque procedures for your bike. The torque on this is 43 to 53 inch-pounds. So I'm going to go on the low side at 43. I'm going to make sure my bell is sitting in there. It's a 5/16, and I'm going to go down to 43. Because sometimes I go a little bit over, and as long as I'm up on the 43 side, I'm good. Okay, 43. It's a teeny tiny bolt, 43 exactly. Maybe we go 43.5, just in case. Yeah, all right, 43.5. And that is it. This side is done and should be leak free. Well, not necessarily done. Okay, so now we can run our wire back through. Get our plate back on, get it kind of lined up a little bit like, you know, how it was. They did provide us some new step-ups, and one is different in length than the other two that I had, and the one that's in the box, and even a different length than that one too. Okay, so these two are the same length. Same length. So one they provided is a little bit longer, which means it's going to stick out more. So I believe that these are the ones we need. So I'll take the prettiest of the two. There's no need to Loctite these or thread lock these or anything like that. We are going to be adjusting it as well. And then we'll set the timing on this. So I'm not really worried about, you know, where it's set at right now. I've got it back to where it kind of was before, but with the Dyna ignition, there's a way to set the timing, static timing, that's really easy on it, but we have to do that once everything, all the wiring and stuff's back up. So I want to route our wiring where it's going to be instead of, you know, all this garbly goop hanging down. I already took the voltage regulator off because it was right up in here, and I already rerouted it where it's supposed to go down here and coming out the back here, and then I'll run it up factory style. But right now this over here is done and back to how it was. Our new gasket is on and everything's nice and dry under here. There, I've still got some residual dripping that was just from, you know, where we had it apart, so we are going to still get a little bit of drip, but it's not from the gasket as far as I can tell. I did put our gremlin bell on at the lowest point. That's important. Almost forgot our oil filter bolts. I'm not used to having those. They're kind of unique to the Sportsters only. Now there's an O-ring back there that the oiler housing goes on. I want to lube that up again. And I want to be careful of my wires for my rectifier. There we go. Had to get it through my gasket there. And the other one as well. There we go. Now I'll zip these on and tighten them down. There's not a torque spec to these. I looked in the manual, I could not find one. It don't even actually mention taking them dudes off. So I'm gonna grab a 3/8 inch drive and just kind of get them snugged up, because it's going through this cover, this case, and the oil filter housing. So I want to get them you know, pretty snug. Not grossly tight. Don't want to crack this case or anything. Then you give it a little pat like that, and you know it ain't going nowhere then. I'm going to go ahead and rotate. Just make sure nothing's in the bind cam-wise. It's got really good compression. Oh, whoa. Really good compression. Blew the carb off. Yow. Of course, I don't have the housing to hold the carb on. So, hey, that's good compression. Okay, so now to remove the clutch hub and the sprocket. It's not like big twins, so you gotta kind of be careful. There is a tension plate here, and it's held in by a snap ring. You have to have a special tool to apply pressure to release this diaphragm buried in here to safely take out the snap ring. I don't have that tool for the Sportsters. I do have one for the twin cam, or for the big twins, but it's too big. It does not set down on the spring where I need it to. So I don't think this is going to work. I mean, we might could try it, because it does thread in here, you know, to grab that. And then this does go over here to grab on this outside. If I can do that, then I can get this snap ring off to take the pressure plate off and to check our pads. However, if we don't want to mess with any of that, because we're just trying to get to this dude right here, you can actually take your light and you can actually look down between the steel plates and the pads, and you can actually see the thickness of them. Now, you can't tell if they're burnt or anything like that, but you can see how thick they are, and these look good. So I don't know if I even want to monkey with that, because these fingers here are prone to break off, and one has already broken off. And maybe, two. So I got 2, 4, 6. 2 out of the 6 are broken off. So I don't really want to mess with it right now. You can actually pull this whole hub assembly off without ever taking off the pressure and the spring here. Of course, this nut, standard thread, we'll just zip it off. This is actually not held on with a nut. So this wasn't even set in there good. This bearing, we'll have to inspect it, the throwout bearing in there, because of that right there. That's what I didn't want to see. If you remember my other sporty video with clutch problems, that was Doodle's bike, it had that problem right there. So we might have to get a bearing and throwout bearing for that. But let me go ahead and get some pliers. We got to get this right here off, and then we can get the hub off. All right, so I want to take this one off, and thankfully they provide you with some pretty good size holes there to compress them. There we go. Then this should come out. My goodness. There we go. So this bearing right here is what I'm talking about. It can get loose in this assembly and walk out on you. Once you've taken this off, you're going to look in there. There's going to be another snap ring in there. And you're going to need some reverse pliers, so one that open up like this. So let me go grab those. We'll get that snap ring off. That snap ring is the only thing holding that clutch hub on. So if you damage it, please replace it. So I'm going to press it out and pull it over that spline there. And now this clutch hub is ready to come off. Believe it or not, that's the only thing holding your clutch hub on. There's no nut, there's no torque, just this. Now it's beefy, it's big. You know, as big as the one, probably bigger, thicker than the one that's on the outside here. So now we can pull this whole thing off. It should come right on off. But we got to get this nut off now. We'll just zip it off real quick with an impact. When we go to torque it, we will lock everything down and torque it back. Now my question is, what size is you? Are you a 1 3/16? Almost. You're gonna be bigger. Are you 1 1/4? Is that what you are? Yes, you are. So 1 1/4 inch on this. I'll just put my Big 1/2-inch snap-on. Just gonna break it free. Break it free and walk away. Break it free, walk away. That's all you want to do. We can go ahead and spin this off. These are got a high torque. Of course, we'll clean the threads, red Loctite, I think 200 foot-pounds. It's what's on that, but now everything's ready to come off. So now my sprocket, compensator sprocket, should be able to start walking out on me, just like that. And my clutch hub, the same. Now, you're going to say, whoa, wait a minute, this feels weird. It's kind of going in on me. Remember, our stator is right back here. So the hub actually has magnets on it. So go ahead and get ready to just give it a good quick yank, and then it'll free up on you. Just like that. And there's our stator there. Oh, and that's good to see, okay? Somebody has upgraded this so that the magnets are in this metal housing. Stock, if you got one that's stock, it would have the individual magnets, like on the twin cams, on the big twins. But this is an upgrade, so I'm surprised this gear has come loose on us. And it looks like they tried to do something to it. And I'll keep my chain on my compensator sprocket so I know which way it goes. I want to keep my chain going in the same direction. So you'll see a shoulder here that fits up in here, and then the flat side that your nut goes on. So I want to keep my chain like this so I know what direction my chain was going in. Good time to inspect your stator. It was charging. This looks like a newer stator. It doesn't look old at all. There's no burn spots on it. The coils look nice and clean. Of course, it has been upgraded. The rotor has, so that's good. Probably from that clutch tooth that's broken. Okay, so my plans are to weld right here. But my question is, does this that I'm welding to spin as well? You know what I'm saying? You got a little washer in there I need to take out of the clutch. It's a spacer than that. And that. So what I'm saying is, if I weld that, will the whole thing just spin too? That I do not know. But I do know this is an upgraded clutch hub with these sealed magnets. And it looks really new. The teeth look really good. I don't know, folks. I don't know if we can weld that back or not. Or if it's, because this is 10. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna clean up around here. Then I'm gonna put some tacks, just tack weld with a stick welder, just around here. Nice and slow, not overheating. It's a big thick gear, it shouldn't warp. If we keep our heat down. This feels to be aluminum, and this is not. So maybe this is part of the hub, and this ring's just spinning. So if I can tack it to this, and then maybe tack this to this as well, then we'll be good. I don't know what that is on it. I've never seen anything like that. Somebody's beat the stew out of it though. Wonder if they beat it on there. And that's why it's like that. Well, if this part of the hub or this is part of the hub, we're good. I can weld the ring to this and it'd be all right. If it's not, then we're in trouble. And we will have to order a whole new hub. Maybe my trouble was trying to find the OEM hubs. Maybe I need to try to find an aftermarket one that might be a little cheaper. And then we can put this back on, put the snap ring back in, then pull our clutch pack out, inspect that to make sure we don't need a new clutch pack, reuse all this stuff. Of course, if we want to keep the hub, which I wouldn't recommend because it's already got two broken fingers on it, one there, one there. And they're right across from each other, which is not good. I got a customer on his way anyway, I think with another Sportster. I kind of get things in the shop in pairs. Street Glides in pairs, Sportsters in pairs, Evos in pairs. twin cams in pairs. Kind of seems to be what's going on. All right, let me do some studying and then we'll get back to this. I looked up the new ones. This appears to be a V-twin and it is $400. So I went with the welding. What I discovered by pressing is that this lip right here indeed does go to this. So I just welded this to this lip. And just in time too, because of rain. Woo! So I set this on a pole where I could weld straight down instead of trying to weld like this and it trying to get in there. So having it like this really helped me to get the weld down in there. I put 4 all the way around. I didn't want this to warp. So they're not the prettiest, but they are good tack welds. A little bit thicker than a tack. And I think that's going to hold it. I cleaned them up. I might have to go back and grind right around the lip here, but I don't think there's anything back here that it's going to rub on. A good way to test that is to set it up on there and spin it. With this right here, this sets back so far. I don't think this is going to hit anything. So let's see. Get it on the spline. Give it a spin. Alright. I don't hear it hitting anything. The basket is back as far as it's going to go. Alright, that should be our fix. I used my little Harbor Freight Chicago welder 240 welder. I set it on 130, 135, and I used the small 7044 sticks. That seemed to do the trick. Now with that on, and I feel good about it, it's rolling nice and free. There's plenty of lip here. My gear's only going to come out on the top, so I really don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to put this spacer back in and get it pushed back in there. And then my snap ring. Woo! Coming to gully washer. Now on this washer there's a sharp side and a beveled side. I always like to put the sharp side in. I don't know if it matters or not. That's just what I do. Okay, we'll lock it in there. We'll open it up. We'll get it on there and I heard it snap. I see it seated in there. Now, that's not coming anywhere. And we still got a nice spin. Very, very good. Now with that out, we can go ahead and put this back in, all the way seated, and then we can get this opened up and put on as well. Very good. Now, I gotta take it all back off. You know why? I'm an idiot. That's why. I'm an idiot. I wasn't even paying no attention. I was having so much fun. So happy that worked. Alright. Take it all back apart. Alright, now I got everything together. Now, go back with this washer. Alright, now go back with our snap ring. Make sure it's snapped in there. Give it a little tug. Yep. Now we can go back with this. Yep. Now, we'll clean the threads up on this. We will red Loctite it, and then we'll follow the torquing procedures on it. So let me go look that up. Maybe the rain will die down by then. We'll throw this on and torque it on. Okay, now we're ready to put our sprocket nut on. The torque for it is 150 to 165 foot-pounds. So we're gonna go with 155. I think that's fair. I'm gonna be liberal with the red and get this started on here. And that's the only torque sequence. There's no torque it to 100, then back off, then torque it again. This is really just a sprocket. It's not, there's no compensator, there's no diaphragm springs, nothing. Just a sprocket on the shaft. That's it. And again, it's a 1 1/4 inch. I might impact it just a little, just to get it kind of where we don't have to torque it as much. Now, I don't have the fancy locking tool. The big twin locking tool that I made out of the crowbar will not work in here because of the distance between here and here is a lot smaller on a Sportster. So I'm going to use a step up on this. It's not what I would want to use, but I want to see if we can make that work. Right, I'm set at 155 on this, and it might help if I go the right way with it. There's 157.9. All right, very good. Now we can just wiggle this back. Get that out. That worked pretty good. Of course, the gun did the majority of it, getting it on there, getting it good and tight. Before I put everything together, I just want to verify, did I fix this? Let me throw a battery back in here, because remember we had everything wired. Let me put the rectifier wire back together so it's not sparking anything. Then we can crank and bump it to see if this is gonna go. I want the plugs in, I want the compression, and I'm gonna get my wooden stick back here to keep tension on this. Because remember, it would crank, it would turn the motor with a lot of slack in the chain. When you got tension on here, like you're supposed to have, it would not turn the hub or the sprocket. I want to definitely put tension on this and then crank and make sure that our welds are going to hold. I might have to take it off and go all the way around on the weld. I don't know. But let me get a battery hooked up. Let me get some other wires over here hooked up that I needed to hook up. Okay, I got my jump pack hooked up to my negative, to the positive that feeds the key on. I got the plugs out. I got the carburetor off on the other side. I just want to stick something up in here to hold the slack in the chain. That wooden handle, I need to find it again. And my dog chewed the end of it off, so it actually works out pretty good there. And that's about the slack I'd want in it. And now all I want to do is just bump, 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 bump. I just want to make sure that gear is going to hold on the hub. Let me go ahead and turn the key on. I'll turn the juice on, and you watch that with me to see what it's going to do. Where's my little button? I might need to get the other one. The button's a whole lot easier to find. All right. I don't like how that's catching, do you? It'll catch one time and then start, but maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's normal. All right, I think we fixed it for the cost of a welding rod. So happy about that, so happy. Now I feel good. We can continue to put everything back together. Then we can start routing our wiring where it's all supposed to be. Try to get it nice and neat, up out of the way, get all the connectors connected up, work on turn signals and stuff like that. Check all the bolts and nuts and stuff on everything and get our brakes working. And then I think we can throw a fender and a seat on it and go down the road. It is now the next day, And this has been a short week with Labor Day and coming back on vacation, and I haven't even stopped to ask you how you're doing and what you're working on and what's going on in your life, so my apologies. So we're ready now to put this primary cover back on. We got these 2 long bolts that I believe go in there, and I just now noticed that we don't even have the mounting for this. We probably shouldn't have started it. Whoops, my bad. Okay, we got all these, what I believe to be primary bolts. We got more than we need, so maybe the book will show us, what is that? Don't know. Maybe the book will show us where those bolts go as far as lengthwise. That's important. Especially don't want to split this in our primary case. If you notice on a Sportster, the bottom case is all one piece. So this is all molded into one piece here. You cannot take this inner primary off. It's part of the case. So we don't want to break through that, cause any leaks, anything like that. I do see that my dowels are still in, so that's good. We do have a new gasket. We'll clean up around here. But before we just slap this on, I do want to inspect ball bearing in here that the clutch arm rides on. Now in the early 1986 models, these arms were different. And in the late 86 up to I think 96 maybe, they changed these arms. So I want to make sure I've got the right arm, because the trouble is I got a trailer load of 3 different bikes, maybe even 4, of parts. An Ironhead, an 02 Sporty, a 1990 Sporty, and I saw labels for a 1992 Sportster. Of course, the 90 and the 92 Sportsters are different. One of the differences is this was the last year of having the stator behind the clutch basket. They moved it up to here, like the big twins. But anywho's in house. I want to take this apart. This needs to be greased, those ball bearings. I want to make sure all 3 ball bearings are in there. So let's go over to the desk. I want to pull up the schematic on this, make sure I've got the right cover and the right insides. It feels to me like it's operating correctly, but I do want to grease it and check everything out. These little tabs here to lock the bolts in are not down, so I just want to make sure everything's down good. I don't think there's a torque pattern to this, but anyway, let's go over to the bench and see what we can figure out. Okay, so I got you sitting down on my desk here. Behave, don't get crazy up here on my desk. We'll take this little tiny, they are 5/16 bolts out. There's 3 of them. I'm glad I checked. They don't seem too tight to me, but they are tiny. About the size, I guess, of that cam rotor, the timing rotor. This is just a little ring here to hold down. I still got 2 tabs over here, 2 over here, and 1 over here, so I need to be careful. I will probably glue those anyway. Now we can just raise this up. It's kind of the holder. It's got the little ramps here. I want to feel in there, make sure there's no sharp edges. Should be nice and smooth. And then there's our balls in our ramp here. And all the balls are there. They look good. I'm going to dump them out and do the same with my fingers in here, just to make sure there's nothing sharp, no gouges where the ball's just not going to go up the ramps good. So these all look good. Now according to the manual, you'll grease them. So just throw you some grease in there. Yes, these do get oiled from the primary oil, but the grease will help to kind of hold things in place. You can see that this is a hooked arm. Now I want to show you why I'm pointing that out, because the manual has something wrong. The manual kind of contradicts itself, and I'll show you that. Okay, so I'll zoom in there to try to get you in there to see. Let me get a pointer for you. Okay, so our arm looks like this. It's got a hook in it. This has a hook in it. 14A. 14A outer ramp early 1986 models. But if you look here, 14B, it's a totally different style of ramp. It kind of has two fingers that come down, two tangs that come down. And it's a 14B outer ramp, late 1986 to 1990 models. So if you go by this in the manual, you'll think you've got the wrong thing. However, this is on page 252. 2 pages over, 254, it has a better diagram. On here, it's got this as the late 1986 to 1990 models. So we're good there. But on the diagram above that I just showed you, it had this one as the late 86 to 90, and it had this one as the early 86 models. You say, well, does it really make a difference? It does, because where the clutch cable hooks onto, for the early 86 models, the flat is in a different position than the flat that we need to find for this one. So when we find the flat for this, hopefully we can find it somewhere in all the parts, it's going to have the flat side. Is that vertical? Yeah, vertical. Yeah, this is horizontal, this is vertical. So as we're holding it this way, it'll be vertical. So that's what we need to find. But if you look at this up here, it's mislabeled. This should say 14B and 13B and 14A and 13A. So just be careful when you're looking at manuals. Just because the manual says it, don't mean it's right. Okay, so according to the manual, I need to leave this alone until I find the coupling for the cable, and go ahead and find a cable and run it through, and then put the cable coupling on there to grab it, then put this in, then take this, we'll go ahead and grease it just so we've got it done. I want to grease in there too, good gobs of grease in that. We'll have to take this all back apart, so I'm just going to set it on there for now. I don't think these have a torque spec, I don't know, but we'll see. And then our ring will go on there. I'm going to blue these, put these on, and just for now, so I don't lose anything, I'm going to get these run in. Now let's talk about clutch cables, because they are different according to the year of the bike. So we've got to find the right cable. I'm hoping that we have a cable. If not, we can't go down the road. And that'll be the end of this video. And I can order a cable today and have one in by the next video. Okay, so cables. Let's try to find us a cable. Here we go. Here's the two different types of cables. So you have number 3 that has like a long shaft here that's you can wrench. There's no O-ring. It's made quite different. It looks like it's a lot more narrow on the thread. Clutch cable number 3 is for the 86 to 87 models. 86 to 87 models, right here, 86 to 87 models. Clutch cable number 2, that looks more like a modern clutch cable, has this shaft here, has a nut made into this, has bigger threads here. Of course, an O-ring goes on. It looks like a standard. So what we need to do now is find a cable, a clutch cable, that looks like number 2 here. Go ahead and run it in the cover with an O-ring. I've got O-ring. If there's an adjustment nut somewhere up in this cable, like a normal clutch cable, a modern clutch cable, then we can run this all the way in with the O-ring. Just tighten it down. We'll adjust from here. Some I've seen, and maybe it's on these older models, this is your lock nut, so you will adjust this out and lock it down. This is your adjustment. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, and that's kind of like the iron heads. So they did away with it in '88 with this style, a more modern style. So I'm thinking probably, if it threads in, any modern clutch cable should work, and it's got the standard hookup there. So let's go find out. So I did not find the cable in all the boxes of parts. I looked and looked and looked and looked. And really, we're probably going to buy a new cable anyway, because depending on the height of the bars that we go with. So I looked in my personal bin and I found one. Oh gosh, it's 3 miles long, so that's perfect. That'll get us down the road though, and then when we decide on bars and heights and lengths, we can order a new cable. I did put an O-ring in there. It did thread in, so that's good. And I did find the clutch catcher keeper. What do you call this? What are you? A coupling. Oh, that's fancy. A clutch coupling. It is vertical, like we needed it. So now we should be able to take these apart now. Pull this up. Well, actually, we could just raise the whole thing up. Get this on here on the cable. I've got as much slack in the cable as I can, and this fits up in there perfect. And now I should be able to slap that in and throw that down, just like that. Put our plate back over. Okay, there is no torque specs to these at all. So it says tighten them securely. So let me clean these threads up. I am going to glue them, although that ring does lock the screws in place, but I think a little bit of thread lock glue would be good. Now my worry is, out of the box of 40 cables, the bin of 40 cables that I have, I yanked one out that fit in there and wasn't too long. Am I going to be able to release enough tension so that I can engage the clutch? That I do not know, but hopefully we will find out here soon. And we will tighten them very easily, and I guess according to the manual, securely. Then we'll bend our tabs down. And then I think on this model, to take and change the clutch cable, you actually have to pull the primary cover off. It's not like the newer models where you can do it from the outside. I believe you have to take this off to reach into here to get this off. It's a bummer, but I did buy a good James gasket for the primary cover, so maybe we'll be able to reuse on that. It's going to snug them down good and tight. I certainly don't want to break one of these off. Okay, those are secured. Now I'll just clamp the little tabs down. There's one. There's what's left of that one. There's one on that one. I should be able to pull the end of my clutch cable and it operate. And I'm looking right here to make sure this ramp goes up and down. Up and down. If I put my finger on it, yes, I can feel it moving. Very good. I think this is going to work for us. And as you can see, there's no way to get to this cable. This doesn't come off. On the newer models, you can take a big piece off here and you can actually get the little ramp out to get to cut the cable off, to swap the cable out. I did put a new O-ring in here. The bushings are in here. A seal is in here. Okay, we're ready now to go with our primary on. I've cleaned up the case, cleaned up the cover. I put the gasket on. It's hanging on the dowels. Be careful when you put it on with this spring here for the primary. I got the case cleaned up best I could. There's only 11 bolts that holds this on. I've got 14 somehow. I don't know which is which. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different lengths of bolts that I've got. So we're just gonna have to do it like the other side, the cam cover side. Start with our smallest and go up from there. All right, get this cable up here. Now I've got my adjuster screw all the way down. I want it out of the way. I've got some bushings. I've got this right here. I want to just kind of grease all this up here. Maybe even just throw some in my clutch pack. Maybe some on the chain there. You want to go ahead and get it on the shaft here. And there's an O-ring here if you're going to reuse it. Make sure that you oil it. Now you set it up here on the shaft first, because you've got this spring down here that you're going to have to take your finger and push up as you align this cover and push it up till it gets up over the actual cover, and then when you find your dowels, it sets on there, and that's all there is to it. So you get it on this first, then you take your finger or screwdriver or whatever you need and push up on that spring, because that spring sets right up in here for your primary tensioner. All right, now everything's on, everything's seated good. Now let's find our bolts. I want to start with the shortest one, and I've got a really short thing back here. I believe that's going to be, nope, that is not it. Okay, I'm not sure what that's going to be used on then, if anything. Oh, maybe there. Okay, I'm going to go with my second shortest. That's way too long. That's better. If I find one that fits, I'm just going to go ahead and glue it. Depending on the bars we use, these are going to be coming right back off anyway to swap out the clutch cable. In 1991, they did away with having to take the cover off to change the cable out, so that's good. But we have a 90, so there you go. So maybe up here, yeah, that looks good. There are no threads left on this case here. So when we pull this off to get the right cable on, we're going to have to tap this, one of those, you know what I'm saying, the things that threads in. I forget what they're called, but that's going to be an issue. So let me dig around, see if I've got these 3/16 Allen heads that are going to be shorter than this. How much shorter? Let's see. About an inch shorter. So all of these I will not need. All right, I was able to find 3 shorter ones. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, that's a T-bit. Oh, that is too. And I think they're gonna work, yes. Yes. Okay, let me grab a T-bit for these. T25 maybe? 27? 27.5? I don't know, you tell me. Well, we were both wrong. You believe that? T30 on these big bad boys. Yeah, all right, I like that. All right, I haven't looked at the schematics, so I don't know if it's supposed to have this little rubber boot on it or not. Just as a kind of a spacer, but if it's on there, I'll put it on there. All righty. Torque time, torque. These are 80 to 110 inch-pounds, so I want to go 80. This one's already stripped out. There's like no threads in it at all. Yeah, you could probably take some vice grips and clamp on there, maybe under here. I don't know, but we're going to fix it. But since we got to pull this off anyway to get a proper cable on that's going to fit whatever bars we run, I'm not too worried about it. But I do want to torque it down. It's a good gasket, and I don't want it to leak. So let's do that. Okay, I'm going to go to 80 because I've not quite mastered the torque wrenches that I got yet. So I don't want to over tighten. And of course, old school manual. What's the torque pattern? Oh, just crisscross them. Just trying to be very, 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 very careful. And I wonder if somebody put too long of a bolt in there and just kept trying to tighten it and strip those threads out. I wonder if that's what's going on here. Okay, those are all torqued. I did that one, I did those two, I know. Let me check this one. Yes, I did that. So how many have I got here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so there's only 10. I thought there was 11. There's only 10. Okay, now that's done. Now on this model, the drain plug is down here. I can feel with my fingers that it's loose. So I need to, and it's leaking. So I need to go ahead and take this off, get the plug out, probably change the O-ring on it, inspect it for any metal, clean it up, put a new O-ring on, thread tape it, put it back up in here and tighten it. There is a torque to this drain plug, and it is 14 to 21 foot-pounds. So we'll torque that. Then we can go ahead and take this off to tighten up our primary chain. Get it good and tight before we do the clutch. I want the chain to be good and tight. Does it matter? I don't know, but I just do. Now, On this plug, on this model, and on this plug, I think in 92 they swapped out to the 2 screws, but you'll see these, like a Chevrolet kind of symbol. And you'll be thinking to yourself, man, who in the world got a screwdriver that wide to go in there? So people kind of beat on them and hit them and all that. Look, you don't have to do that. If you've got a 1/2 inch extension, did you know that they will fit in there on these old Sportsters? Yes, sir. That's all you need. So I've got a 1/2 inch extension. Instead of using a big 1/2 inch ratchet, I've got a step down adapter there. So I want to get this on here and just turn. It's just threaded in there. So instead of beating on it, banging on it, tearing it up, look at that notch in there. Just use a 1/2 inch extension. Double gasketed. What's that tell you? She's a leaker. All right, take that off. I'll be taking this one off. But now we can inspect our primary chain, and then we can run our adjuster screw up. There'll be an Allen head in there. I think it's smaller than a 3/16. Yeah. So let me go grab it. Yeah, it's a 5/32. So we're going to run this in. We'll make sure our lock nut is back and run this in quite a bit till we get some tension on the chain. All right, I'm going to have to get something to get that nut backed down some more. Should be a 1/2 inch, I believe. So what is you? Here, a 1/2 inch. And 5/32. I just want to hold this lock nut so it don't get in my way. I see my primary chain going up. Ooh, still very, very loose. Yikes. Quite a bit to go. Better. I like it. Okay, so free play on a 1990 Sportster. There's 2 different settings. You can do it on a cold engine and you can do it on a hot engine. So on a cold engine, the chain free play is 3/8 inch to a 1/2 inch. On a hot engine, it's a 1/4 inch to a 3/8 inch. Now what you'll do normally is take the plugs out, put it in the highest gear, which on this is 4th, and you'll feel as you rotate the tire over, the tightest spot on that chain, that's where you want to be at, and make your measurements from that tight spot. Because there is tight and loose spots as a sprocket goes around and the hub goes around. Now I'm not doing that right now because we're going to take this off again, and when we take this off, you have to loosen up the primary chain adjuster to take this cover off. So there's no sense in pulling the plugs, rotating it, setting it, because we're going to have to take it right back off whenever we get the proper clutch cable on. So to me, that feels good enough to ride. So they're same part number for the primary inspection and the fuel and the clutch adjuster. Yep, they're the same. Even got the same cutouts for the springs. Spring right here to go inside. So good, so they're the same. Let me lock the lock nut down. There is a torque to the lock nut, and it is 98 to 144 inch-pounds. However, if you just throw a socket on there and a torque wrench, then you will not be able to hold down here. So you can put a torque adapter on and get it set. What am I going to do? I'm just going to snug it up. Just like that. That's all I'm going to do. Because we're going to be taking it right back off again. No big deal. So we got our chain tension right. We got everything torqued. We are missing a bolt back here, but we do have to tap that and rethread that. Or put that thread insert in, whatever they're called, thread inserts maybe. I don't know, you tell me. The ones you screw in and then it keeps the screw hole the same thread pitch and depth. Now the manual says for this model, 24 ounces of oil. This oil fills both the primary and the transmission oil. So it's not like a big twin or twin cam even, where you've got an oil filler for the transmission oil, one for the primary and one for the engine. 3 holes. You don't have that on the Sportster. On this year, you have the oil here on the primary that feeds both the transmission and the primary. Now some folks, because of that, will run a little thicker oil than the regular 2050. If you look up in the manual, even in this manual, probably published in 2003, it tells you not to use motor oil because you're filling the transmission as well. However, everybody I know uses straight 2050 in both holes. I said it, it is what it is. Okay, now what I want to do is get this center stand out of the way so that I can get to this drain plug, take it out, change the O-ring in it. So where's my center stand thingy-majiggy? Where's my center stand handle? Where'd you go? Well, did you just leave? Did you just get up and walk out? What? Did you just quit on me? You can't find nothing. Okay, I'm just gonna borrow you, but I will replace you. It's in all this somewhere. All right, going down. Oh, let me move all my stuff. All right, going down again. A little bit lower, Joe. Come on down with it. Okay, that's good. All right, now we can just move that out of the way. Let me tighten up my ratchet straps. There we go. And let me tighten this wheel shock up, just in case things get wild. What a mess. What a mess we made. There's some of those chunks from that clutch basket teeth. Been banging around all in there. That might be what got up in that starter gear or something. Again, I don't even know if that's the starter that goes on this bike. But it's working. All right, my plug here should be a 5/8. I think they kept them pretty standard. Where you at, plug? Well, they made me a liar. Good grief. It is indeed false. It looks way bigger than a 5/8. What are you, a 1/4 inch or 3/4? Are you that big? Yep, you are. All right. We're gonna loosen. Oh, I forgot it was loose already. And then it got tight again. That's not good. That means the thread's boogered up. If you have a bolt that's tight and then loose and then tight and then loose, yeah, you got bad thread somewhere. Either on the bolt or in the thread hole. Well, how long are you? What in the devil? Okay. So there's a little bit of that, probably those teeth that broke off, but not too bad. And no O-ring. Well, that ain't good. Are you up in here? Nope, absolutely no O-ring on that. So let me grab an O-ring, then I'll put the plug back in, I'll thread tape it, we'll torque it down to 14 to 21 foot-pounds. I'm gonna do, since this is old, this is stripped out, I'm gonna do 15. Does that sound fair? That's what I thought. I got thread tape. Make sure when you thread tape, don't get it on the magnet, okay? I got a new O-ring on there. Let's oil that O-ring up just a dab will do you. Let's clean off under here. Now let's go up with the plug. You know what, since this plug is tight and loose and tight and loose, I'm going to just go 14 foot-pounds. And again, we'll be dropping this oil anyway, so we can definitely save on it. 14 foot-pounds. We're tightening. Hold your breath. Say your prayers. We're tightening, right? Yeah, okay, we're tightening. This isn't good. Okay, that might be why it was loose. It is indeed stripped out. It's stripped out. And that is part of the case too. Never fear. They make fixes for plugs that are stripped out. In cars and trucks, and yes, it's used even in motorcycles. But it is stripped out. So, Even if we throw oil in here, it's going to leak out. I don't want to waste oil again. I wasted about 2 quarts to fire it up. So, we will not be riding this. Oh, that's really loose. Well, now why did you get tight there? So it's got a tight spot in it, and it gets loose again. Okay. Yeah, it's stripped out. That's no good. You don't want to monkey with that. Even if we say, well, it gets tight, finger tight, let me tighten it. Let's go down the road. No. Hey, that thing vibrates out, gets loose, and drops out. You're going to lose all your transmission oil, lock your gears up, burn them up. Going to burn your clutch up. We're not doing any of that. I think the oversized drain plugs that you buy will actually re-thread the actual hole, and when you do that, you're going to get metal up in there. So we got to be able to get the metal out. Now I wonder if it's just the plug itself that's stripped, but I doubt it. So why is it like that? Why does that happen? Well, from people over tightening it. That's why they give you a torque spec. A lot of people think that torque specs are so that you get it tight enough. No. Oftentimes, especially on things like this, torque specs are so that you don't over tighten a bolt. You strip a thread out, strip a bolt out, strip a case out. Yeah, threads on this look great. Nothing wrong with this plug. So it's stripped out from the actual case. So they do make oversized plugs. I'll have to order one and put up in there. But when I thread it up in there, it's going to make new threads. It's going to cut new threads in it. So we're going to have to clean it out from down here when we do that. So I'm just going to stick this back in here for now. So what we were going to do next was to torque this down, pull our inspection screw out, which it's boogered up as well. So we'll fix it. We'll make it a flathead now instead of that. Then we would fill up 24 ounces, and with this being as dry as it's probably been setting, it'll probably take a little bit more than that. So I just don't want to dump 24 in. I think I'm good. So I want to pull this inspection plug out, keep dumping at least 24 in, and keep dumping until I see fluid drip out of here. Then with the bike upright, I know that, hey, we're where we need to be fluid-wise, both the transmission and the primary. But we can't do that right now. So let's move on to this right here, setting our clutch adjustment. In case you're watching for that, let me show you that before we go. All right, setting the clutch adjustment on a Sporty, you have basically 3 pieces. Well, you got 4. You've got this screw here that turns. It's got a slit in it for a flathead screwdriver. You have another screw, hex head screw, that actually threads on. It's got threads in it that threads onto this. You've got another one that looks almost identical, but it has no threads in it. It's just got 2 slots in it that actually fit over the slots on this. And then you've got this spring. So you're looking at this saying, what in the world do I do? Okay, you want these to not be like this, but to be like that. You want both of these heads to set in the cutout that's on this. So to do that, you'll put this one on first. It will go the long side in first with this sticking out. Get you a skinny flat head, slide it on there like that. You're going to stick this on here and hold it. You're not going to worry about the adjustment yet. And what you're going to do is you're going to turn this on here till it goes all the way down to where it won't turn anymore. All right, then you're going to drop it into place. Now you're going to take the set screw and turn it counterclockwise. It's going to draw that screw in there, and you want to do this until it stops turning, till it seats. Looks like right there. Now you want to go a quarter turn clockwise. Right there. Now you can take this with the spring, it'll usually stay on there, and you want to set that with the grooves over this set screw that you just set. Try not to move your set screw, and you want to put it on. Now if it doesn't line up, you can turn the set screw, but don't turn it counterclockwise, turn it clockwise in order to get this to set in the hole, the groove there. Now that is done. Now you can take your plug, and this right here sits right up in that groove. Make sure your O-ring's good. Get the thread started, and then you can take your 1/2-inch extension, stick it in there, and tighten it up. Then once that's tight, then you can go to your cable and let out the adjustment for the tension up top. That should be the proper set. Now I'm not going to do that right now because guess what? All this has to come off again. So we've got to fix this stripped out bolt right here. We've got to fix the stripped out drain plug. Since we're doing that, I'm going to inspect all these. They felt good, they torqued down good, but I just want to make sure so we don't have any more hiccups. So unfortunately, that's going to stop us. We just can't go any further. And you're probably tired of me already. Here's the deal. I might have bit off more than I could chew as far as thinking we could get it on the road this week. No. It literally came up as a basket case. And you say, well, what's worse than a basket case? 3 basket cases, maybe even 4 altogether. So it takes hours to sift through and sort through, and does this go to here? I don't know. I don't know. These models, I think from 88 to 90, they made certain things different just for the 88 to 90s. Then they changed things. So from 91 pretty much on to 2003, they kind of stayed the same. You know, they changed things like this. I think that goes there. I don't know. I don't know. They got things like this. I think that's the exhaust bracket. I don't know. I got things like this. Cover that you have to mount your rear brake master cylinder on, but I don't think the oil lines are routed right, and I can't get it up on there to get it situated. And guess what these are? Mounts for the motor. I didn't even check it. Yeah. The motor is just hanging in there, literally, from here and the front. That's it. So, here's the thing. I want to take my time. We've still got over 1,000 subscribers to hook up with before we're able to give this bike away anyway. And I'd rather take my time and get everything right before I go down the road in it. Now listen, I'm not scared of getting in a ditch. I've hit many of them. Actually, some ditches can be quite soft and comfortable. But I don't want to mess nothing on the bike up. If I take this down the road and I forgot to check something, I could get it in a ditch and bend the forks, bend the bars, bend the swing arm, cause some damage that will just hold us up. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our time. I'm going to go through each nut and bolt on this, make sure the motor's in good, go through all these parts again. Let me just walk you around. You can see what I'm saying, because you might not believe me, but you got to, because I'm saying it. So parts wise, I've got this really cool cover here. I like that. And I've got this really cool cover here. As you can see by the sides, they're different. So I don't know. This, does it go on the 90s model? Does it go on the 2002 model? Does it go on the 92 model? I know it doesn't go on the iron head, so I don't know. Brake light. I think this is the brake light to it. It's a 2-wire run light and a brake light, and then it's grounded to the actual frame. This, I think that's the plate holder that goes above it. I've got 2 or 3 of these. I think this is the one that kind of matches the color. So this probably came off of that. I got to move all these. These are in the way. So I've got to route them up through here and over or something. Something's got to be done with them. And I'm glad that I noticed it and said, well, I've got to move these because the clamps, when they put the new lines on, the clamps aren't tightened. So that's good that they left it like that so I can easily move it around. I found this guard here. I think it goes on there and back here. I've got this one. I've got this one with the rod. Then I've got this one that's got forward controls on it with motor mounts on it already. So I don't know if we'll be using these or not. I don't even know if these are the ones for this bike. We'll have to see. These risers, we're going to use these because this speedometer is made to bolt up right here and right here for the risers. And then we can get rid of these T-bars, which if you know me, I hate T-bars. Also, I found some more grips. I found we can change the things around if we want to. This, as we learned last time, is just on here loose. So we got to pull this off anyway because we've got to put our speedometer sensor on. And this speedometer sensor turns, but the cable's broke. This one has a good cable on it, but the speedometer doesn't. The gear in here is broke. So I think I can make one out of two. This is the forward controls for the shifter. The pegs are in rough shape, but look, I got pegs. We can change that out. I don't know if this came on that, or if we just go back with stock and do mid controls. We could do that. You tell me, forward controls on a Sportster or mid controls? Leave that up to you. This thing right here, I think we can delete on this homemade bracketry. Although it looks good, I don't think we need it. Here's why. I'm digging in all the stuff. I found this fender, this rear fender. Okay, it's got the brake light mount. It's got the license plate mount on it already. And look, 1, 2, 3, 4 relays, mechanical relays. So it's already got them. We can just snap them right in there and get rid of that bracket. I found the front fender to it too. And I couldn't find a tank. So this tank, there's no petcock in it. So we got to get one of those, which I think I got one laying around. But the inside of the tank, you probably can't see it, but it looks really good. And by the smell of it, it's been lined recently. And I found the hose for it as well, the vent hose. I also found turn signals and the Badlanders. So if you win this and live in a state that requires a state inspection and it requires you to have turn signals, you'll have turn signals. And I found a bunch of other like more stock round signals we can use instead of using these if you don't like these. We can easily swap those out. So I got stuff everywhere, literally everywhere. Been digging through all this. So I've got mid controls if we want to go back with mid controls. I didn't find a clutch cable, but I might dig through my stuff and try to find a clutch cable that it's a little bit shorter so that we can set bars on there and measure and see what length cable we need to order. As far as bars, I've got tons of bars. We got tons of bars. And I've got some ape hangers too, brand new, that are up there that are, I think, 14s, maybe 16s, if we want to do ape hangers on it. But with mid controls, I don't know if I don't know. Me personally, I would want forward controls. Then you could do this, the 16s if you wanted to. And I've heard that even some states measure how tall your bars are. What does that matter? Why do they care? I don't know. You tell me. Explain that to me. So I might wind up putting 16-inch ape hangers on here. You win the bike. You go and try to get it registered, and they say, no, you can't have that. You got to change those bars out. So, good grief. Then you got to change the cable out, change the throttle cables. So, here's my plan. I'm taking the 92 bars that are stock bars, and I'm putting them on the bike. That might even be the bars that come off the bike. I don't know. Before those T-bars, but we're going to put those bars on. Then I can get a cable. See, I found this cable in there, but good night. It's longer than the cable that's on it now. Way too long. And I'm not a fan of braided cables. I'm not a fan of braided stuff. Next video of this, I'll have everything we need in. I want to go ahead and pull these bars off and set the other bars on with the risers, and maybe try out some different bars. Then I can measure cable length. I've got a box of cables, literally 50, 60 cables. Where people come in, I want ape hangers. Well, you can't use your stock cable. Get rid of them, throw them away. Well, I keep them because they're good cables. Never have used them, but things like this, we will. Then I'll measure, I'll get a cable on, and when we start to fix these holes, I'll bring you along with me. I'm not going to leave you out of anything that I think you'd want to see and be a part of. Because who knows? This might be your bike. It might be your bike. So I've had a lot of fun. I love doing things like this. Basket case, just getting bikes back on the road, and even more exciting, giving this one away. It's really awesome sauce. So thank you folks so much for hanging out with me, and tell your mom and them I said hi.